coming from you live from here in Texas for Space Cadets. We are the Space Cadets. We all work somewhere in Miss Jen's shop, Space Cadets. So, hi, I'm Jena.
Hi, I'm Bean.
I'm Shanice. Hello.
Yes, we all have crazy hair today, and it's perfect. It's been so windy outside.
Yeah,
like at the store,
it's been crazy.
The lights were flickering at the store. Poor Nicole was just yelling at it like, no!
The Wi-Fi's going in and out.
Oh, no. Yeah. But super glad for this. It means it's cooler weather, right?
Yeah. You either have sweat or you are getting blown away. And I'll take getting blown away for a few days at least.
Just got to wear some heavy shoes. When Nicole went to leave, I was like, need to get her some concrete shoes. And it's like, are you a monster? No. All right. So this is our first time. So let's get to know everybody. So Bean, what was your first ever comic?
So my first comic was actually, I remember it really distinctly because for, I think several years, I only had like 3 comics and they were 3 Scrooge McDuck comics. And like, I read them until literally the covers fell off because I had nowhere else that I could like get more comics in my hometown. And so that was really my first one, where those 3 Scrooge McDucks, and eventually the local grocery store started getting they had the little wire rack where you would get 1 Marvel, 1 DC, and 1 Archie. And if they were just random, every week. So I started getting those. I could get 1 a week and read those, but it was just, I wasn't really in tune with any story because it was just a random comic every week. So,
that sounds so much fun.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to imagine, just like, what's the next part of Archie? 2 months later, Archie's dead. What?
Oh no! To be honest, I never got the Archies. I always got the Marvel. Mostly the Marvel. Every once in a while, it was a Batman week. Every once in a while.
Definitely.
Yeah. Shanice, what was yours?
Gosh, I think my first one, it was like the Archie Digest from like the grocery store.
Oh yeah.
And I think the first ever single issue I ever got. It was a comic that they released as a promotional for the first Spider-Man movie. Because remember, Walmart, they were handing them out for free.
Oh, the ones with the Tobey Maguire first Spider-Man movie, right?
That's awesome.
That was the first single issue I ever actually owned, and I'm not sure if I still have it somewhere, but I tore that thing just from reading it day after day after day. I want to say like it fell apart in my hands when I was a kid. So I want to say that was the first comic I ever read, along with the Archie Digest ones, because Archie. Betty, Veronica, who knows?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm the only one who missed out on the Archie comics. I didn't get into those till high school.
Oh yeah, I've still never read them actually. I don't know. That's just not my jam. Like
I like how my boyfriend always says, like, with Archie, it's like, how did he describe it? It's, you can tell that it's like the best fantasy comic ever, because there's like no way like 2 high school girls would have like let that fly. Have like a dude like 2-timing them and they're just fine with it.
Yeah,
like there's no way.
Is that what happened?
I agree to that. Possible. I don't know. That's a totally different Archie comic, but not the one I was reading.
And then it led into, what was there, Archie Apocalypse?
Oh gosh, yeah, Archie.
I don't
know.
It's
a super popular show. I'm sorry. I always try to imagine of like Rivendell Archie. It feels so different.
Rivendell or Riverdale?
Riverdale. I had to fight the wind. I lost some of the feeling in my lips. I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, my first book. So my first book was already falling apart when I got it. It was Image Jim Lee's Wildcats #2. And I remember there was no front cover on it. And I had that thing rolled up probably in my back pocket for at least a year. And it just fell apart in my pocket one day. And I read it over and over and over again. That was my first ever, like, I didn't know what comics, I didn't know anything about, I didn't even know that they existed, anything at all. And somebody like threw that at us group of kids. And we're like, oh, what is this? Yes. Gimme.
It's so funny that all three of us, our first comics were completely destroyed by us reading them so many times. Like, I don't know if that's like a sign of things to come, but like,
yeah, I do believe that was a sign of just like, guess what? We're all gonna have comics forever.
yeah.
It was like a sacrifice for like our current jobs and working at a comic store. You had to like destroy a comic, and that's how you ended up in a store. And you're 20, you're like an adult.
And now we spend the rest of our lives just carrying them so gently and being like, okay.
I
slowly
know
opening.
I don't have mine anymore, and I haven't really been able to find it again because, like I said, the first one I ever got, it didn't have a cover at all. Like the cover had already like been ripped off or fallen off or whatever. So I don't know exactly which one it was. I just remember seeing it was #2, and this was like the mid-90s. So I may never know.
Yeah.
And Jim Lee is like still one of my favorite artists to this day. And when he came up to the store for what was it? Was it Batman Day right after Harvey? So like a couple years ago.
Oh man, yeah, that was so cool, and that's one of my biggest.
Was there.
Signing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like me and my husband were there. He was my boyfriend at the time, not my husband. But and Jay just froze. He just froze. Like Jim Lee's walking through the line, like, "Hey, how are you guys doing?" And he's just like, "Hi." He could say that. He has that like really, really deep voice, and then when he gets nervous, it drops another octave. So it was just like,
so. Oh man.
Oh my goodness. So my next question for you guys is going to be, let's start with Shanice on this one. What was your first comic book store?
First comic store, it's a place back in Georgia called Columbus Comics. That was the first store that I've ever actually been to, and I actually realized, oh, so there's like an entire store that sells comics. It's not just like, you know, what you see like at the grocery store, just that little section.
Yeah,
actually just like drawers and boxes full of comics.
Oh, man.
So that was my first one. And I'm still good friends with the owner to this day after almost like 10 plus years.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
And are they still open?
Yes, they are. Thankfully,
Cool.
it's so if you're ever in Columbus, Georgia, please go visit that shop. Pat is such an amazing guy, and if you love wrestling, that's a bonus because you can spend hours in that shop talking wrestling and comics.
We're gonna have to wrap back around to wrestling here in a little bit.
Yes.
There are many things. Like Shanice is the one who knows all about it. I know a little bit about it. Jay knows a lot about it, and I'm not sure. Bean, do you know?
Nothing. I'm pretty sure
I'll learn today.
they wrestle each other, and there's plot lines, costumes,
light bulbs,
Tables.
tables.
Shiny feathers occasionally.
Nice.
We now have like a new mission to get Bean like to watch like a wrestling match.
Yeah.
Wrestling by Matt, like actual pay-per-view. So you can be one of us wrestling fans.
I'm down. I'm definitely down to try it out. It's just never been around me, you know, like I don't know why. I just never watched it.
But yes, let's loop back to that, but let's find out, Bean, what was your first comic book store?
So the funny thing is my first comic store was also in Georgia, and it was in Augusta. And to be honest with you, I don't know the name of it. It was, and I love it. I like, maybe while you're talking about yours, I might try to look it up real fast, so I can give them a shout out. But I really wasn't. I was actually more interested in Dungeons and Dragons and role playing games, and so that's why I went there. and it was like the classic nerd shop, you know, the faded posters covering all of the windows, and they had like cats that lived in there, you know, like all the plastic folding tables with the dudes that constantly play Magic. I loved it, loved the atmosphere. And I went in and I was just kind of like roaming around. They had comics. They had like a huge comic section. It was like a 50-50 store. And I picked up actually Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur because I thought it looked cool. I was like, oh, cool, you know. And so I picked up, I think it was like number 6 or something. And I bought it and I took it home and I read it. I was like, oh, I like this. Okay, cool. So I came back and I was like, all right, I need the rest of them. You know, I didn't know how it worked. And they were like, well, you know, and I got all the ones I could off the shelf, and I was like, where's the rest? And they're like, well, they're back ordered. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, and they're like, no, like we can't get them, so you'll have to go find them. Ooh. I was like, side quest, like, whoa, like it just like hit some part of my brain that was like, you have to go find these and collect them. And I was like, I have to go find these and collect them.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my first store. I opened a pull box there and just got really into it. And I loved it so much. Like, I was really sad when I had to move away from there and leave them, but it was awesome.
But now we're all at Space Cadettes, so it works out, right?
Yes.
Right. Yes. All right. So Bean, you said you're going to go look for the name, right?
Yes. Well, you tell us about your first comic store.
Mine's kind of complicated. My first one was a little Korean shop that had vending machines with like Cokes and toys and stuff like that. And then the other half was old comics that they just had laying around. And I think, what was I picking up? I found a Spawn, and then when I moved to Texas in 2001 or 2002, somewhere in there, I found Fat Ogre. They were over off of Sawdust over by where all the schools are, that whole street. There's like 3 schools. I think there's an elementary school, there's a junior high, and an intermediate. Is that right, Shanice?
Yes, so many schools.
So many schools. They put the 3 schools in one street. And then at the end of the street,
zone is not fun.
Always. And then at the end of the street, there was a Valero, and it was like a strip center with like a laundromat and then something. And then it was the comic store, and you would go in there, and it was always like a group of like dudes off on one side playing D&D or Magic or something. And then these like wall of just comics, and Zenescope had just started. And I was like, oh, look at that. Like, they're like, oh yeah, it's some sort of twisted grim fairy tale. And I was like, I was already on a mission, because I grew up on actual Irish fairy tales. My family from like other countries told me how fairy tales actually were. And then being in the States that's not what fairy tales were like. Fairies are very bad. Very bad. They steal babies and they eat them and they leave their babies. So like I was already on this trip of like, I will find the real fairy tales. And so Grim Fairy Tales #1 was there, and I was like, oh, okay, this is much closer to what I like, and I love the animation. So yeah, Fat Ogre, they moved. I think they moved to somewhere else on Sawdust.
Yeah, they're still over there. I actually, when I was because I'm new to the area, for the listeners, you guys know that, but and so I actually did you know, I did make the rounds of all the comic shops before choosing Space Cadettes, but it was actually like, once I walked in and saw that everything was already bagged and boarded on the shelf, I was like, this is my spot.
Yeah.
Because I'm very, like, I would actually bring bags and boards with me in my bag when I bought comics and physically like put them in there as soon, like sometimes at the checkout, if they weren't busy, I would just sit there and like bag and board my comics. So it's like, these are not getting torn up. And I just immediately fell in love with Space Cadettes, like not trying to make an ad for them or anything, but that's why I picked them instead of like Fat Ogre and some of the other ones.
Yeah,
so
definitely. I think that was one of my key reasons. I was like, okay, they can take care of their books. Because there had been a couple of other stores where I was trying to get my books, and they were always like poor little baby's falling off of the shelf, just bending over, and I'm like, no, let me help you. No. I walk in there, and it's just like nothing is bent and falling. Oh,
Yeah.
I definitely want to say, it's like I definitely want to say that like Space Cadets, I think, was the first place where I saw bags and boards, because at the first shop I've been to, like the books, they were already like in their bags but no boards. So when I first moved down here, it's like, oh, they do both in some places.
Yay!
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, I just throw them in a box and just are gently place them in a box. That's it.
We do not condone throwing comics.
No.
Yeah, we
Oh man.
Oh my goodness. So it is been a couple of days since new books came out, and we did process them on Tuesday, which is always fun. We love doing that. What was like going through the books? What was one of the ones that you like were so excited to see? You were just like, oh, look at this book, I need it.
I mean, there was the big release this week that I think everyone was excited about.
Gunslinger Spawn?
House of Slaughter.
Oh, yeah, that one too.
Yeah.
I was so excited about both. I was like, oh.
Yeah. I worked the live show with Miss Jen where we sold so many of them of House of Slaughter. I mean, it was just like we were not throwing, but we were just like everyone got a House of Slaughter. Like I was Oprah there, just like you get one, you get one.
Everybody gets one. And then when I did the Whatnot show yesterday, there was people just like, do you have this one? And I'm like, yeah, for later. Like, bro.
Yeah.
And I put it up there, and everyone's like, I need it. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
I was super excited about Spawn. I had to show you that first, but here you go. Please don't yell at me anymore. And then Shanice would know, but it feels like everybody was pulling it too, like for their pull boxes.
And on Wednesday, I did have like a customers come in, looking for House of Slaughter, and you know, we had like that little display on the front counter, and it seems like every time I go inside the store, it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And we ordered a lot, so that's insane that we're selling as many as we are, which is always good, especially right now.
Definitely.
But, yeah.
Did you guys see that Marvel dropped 2 of their movies and they're postponing 2 other movies?
No. What's going on?
I don't know. I just know that was like announced a couple of days ago, and we put it up on the page, but it's just like undisclosed movie has been canceled. And I'm like, what movie could it be? Do you guys have any predictions what the 2 canceled ones could have been?
I don't know. You know me, I have trouble keeping up with the MCU. I am always behind, but I've decided to just think of it as I'm always surprised about what's coming out.
Like, ooh, new movie, cool.
Yeah.
What about you, Shanice? Any predictions?
I really don't know. Like, obviously it's not going to be like the Fantastic Four or X-Men, because they've been waiting so long to get them to do those movies with the studio. And not Ant-Man, because you're filming it now.
Yeah. I think Ant-Man was one of the ones that was postponed.
Yeah, that one and Doctor Strange, I think.
Yeah, because 2 were postponed and 2 were canceled. And I think it was Doctor Strange and Ant-Man were the 2 that were postponed. But then it's just like undisclosed movie canceled, like Marvel undisclosed. Like what does that even mean? English?
Well, hopefully not Blade.
Oh, if it's Blade, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, I'll be legitimately upset if it's Blade. Like, oh no.
No,
I was thinking it was a show or something, but oof.
They just
very quiet.
Comic. No,
I'm nervous. Thank you, Jena.
I'm gonna riot. They cancel Blade because they like not even a month ago they announced the cast. So. Okay. Yes. No.
If there's a riot in New York, we now know who's playing.
Yeah. Like Marvel Studios burned down, unknown person heading it, and it'd be like, I was in Texas.
She had pink hair and glasses, which is not me because
we couldn't figure out who it was. They were wearing a mask.
I'm imagining like grainy CCTV footage, but it's just you, but with a mask, but you still have one of your really distinct like nerd shirts on, and like we're just like, uh oh.
Oh no, I'd go out and find a blank shirt so that way they know it's not me. Everybody.
What
knows.
about
Yeah.
a sports ball short or shirt?
What kind of sports ball? Making me look really crazy. Just like one of those like for baseball where they have like the button up ones or something, you know.
Yeah.
Because no. I would never be caught wearing
They
those.
I know they would never catch on.
I'll just do my hair green for that time or something. I would start a riot. I wouldn't actually be doing it. I would start the riot and then tell them what to do. But then I would come back to Texas.
The mastermind.
You're there.
Like
it was a Tuesday. I was processing books.
Oh Jesus! Just picturing that scene from the Joker movie, where like, it's just like a full-fledged riot in Gotham. Like that's all I'm picturing now.
Dancing down the stairs. Me just dancing in the warehouse. Which does happen a lot more than you guys think it does. Because what was it? The September song. The Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah.
So Jay was telling me he was looking at some old footage that we had, and he was like, "Yeah, so I found the part where all three of you are dancing to that song." And I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah,
because you gotta dance. Like it's.
I know
you have to.
Not a September. Yes, you have to. Like it's just when it's that one day of the year, you have to do it. And I think there's another song where it's another day of the year, but I can never remember what it is. And it's gone. So I want to talk wrestling. I'm still freaking out about CM Punk. I know it's been like a month, but I'm still just like.
So, for like context for me, CM Punk. So he's a wrestler who is very good, but he left the wrestling industry on like not so great terms. This was about what 5 or 6 years ago, or
like, I want to say has it been that long?
Yeah, it's been a long time. Like it's so it's been like this big thing. So he's come back to wrestling. Like Jena said, like a couple weeks ago, and it's just mind blowing because to kind of give an idea of how bad it was. Like he was in a lawsuit with the WWE.
On like a positive note, like what makes a good wrestler? Like he was a really good wrestler, but like what qualities did he have that made him a good wrestler?
He's a good promo. Like he can talk. Like he. So he's
very charismatic, very athletic. Yeah.
Okay.
Also
those moves, even I would never even imagine.
So he's like the total package. Like he has the right look. He's a really good wrestler, and he can talk. And with me, like. If you're like a good talker, like The Rock or something, then you're one of my favorites. Like, so he's a really cool dude, and he also writes comic books too.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. That's cool. Yeah. That's cool.
Find a lot of people that are wrestlers, either the WWE or AEW or what's
Impact.
The one? Thank you. A lot of them are either like they're actors, they're writers. There's a couple that are artists. There are
cosplayers.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So they're huge nerds too, and that's just great.
Yeah, I guess it's more like performance, right? Because I've like watched like MMA and stuff, and they're just beating each other up, like they're just fighting, physically punching each other. But
Yeah.
that's not what wrestling is, right? Like,
No.
Sometimes,
yeah,
like there's something called like what's it called shoot wrestling, where the strikes actually connect.
Yeah.
okay,
But you don't really see that here, like in the States, at least not on like bigger promotions like WWE. But you do see it like in Japan,
Yeah.
and it's really cool. But I can't really like handle that sometimes because if they do like legit like we call them headbutts.
Ooh,
It's
yeah,
so
I can't.
bad because you're hearing like they're cracking.
oh, the
Like I hear
crunch.
that crack, and my brain's just like, no.
Oh
And there's something called oh my gosh death matches where it's where they use like chairs, light bulbs,
Yeah.
like
A
legit
ladder.
like they start just beating each other like with objects,
Yeah.
and it can get really like bloody real fast.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. Yeah, I actually do remember watching wrestling once, and I think that it was like it was me and my mom, which I grew up with my mom is a huge nerd too. And so that definitely was an early influence on me. And I think we were gonna watch X-Files or something. And it like wrestling came on before X-Files. And I just remember that they like got out of the ring and they were like chasing each other and they went into like it looked like a concession like room where they had like snacks on a table and then they like went through the snack table and all this stuff.
Not the
I was
snacks.
yeah. And I was like, oh, this is pretty fun. Like, this isn't real, but like, that's fun, you know?
Yes. Oh my gosh. And then there's always those moments where it's when they go for the bank where they have this big giant like briefcase hanging in the air where it's a contract where you get to actually sign on with them. And there's this ladder. And then there's just like 30 people out in the ring, just knocking each other out, trying to get to it. People are throwing other people off ladders. It's what's the word? Pandemonium. It's just pure, just those are the ones that I like to watch. And I'm like, oh,
I do want to watch. I want to watch that. Like, I'm sold on this.
yes.
This is how it starts. Just watching one match and then you're just going to these shows. Like, it's fantastic. I love wrestling. It's so fun.
And then, of course, Becky Lynch coming back after her pregnancy, coming back as the man. She's the man. And she's just, it's amazing. So Becky Lynch is this amazing female wrestler who just left, had a kid who's adorable, and then came back to wrestling. And she's known as the man. And she actually, I think she had like a really bad injury when she left too. What was it? Was it her knee? I think it was. Shanice, do you remember?
I didn't hear about her having an injury. I knew she was out because she had a baby. But,
but I remember right before she left, she also had an injury. It was either for her arm or her leg. I'm completely drawing a blank. Sorry, guys. And she's Irish too. And she comes out with this like, no, mine. And
like this really cool swagger. She's awesome.
Yeah.
Leather jacket, just like, let's do this. Let's go. She's got that attitude that just I want to have when I grow up. But those are, and then The Undertaker was always my favorite, even when I was like younger and I was watching it with my cousins. And his first ever loss was the only time I've ever cried during wrestling.
Because it was a really big deal. Because he had like this like undefeated streak for years.
30 in a row.
Like just 30 in a row. And Brock Lesnar broke the streak, which nobody saw coming. Like, it's, if you ever want to laugh, if just look at a live reaction from WrestleMania, so when Brock beat him, people legit, like, they were just silenced. People were like, they just lost their minds. Like, what?
Like, I remember watching it live, and in my house, there was me, there was my cousin, there was his wife. He had my first two nieces. They were young, like young. And they were watching too, and they're like, yeah, take her. Because they never called him Undertaker. They were like sitting there yelling. And then all of a sudden, like the whole house and the whole just like on TV, just silence. And then almost the same time the audience started losing their minds, the little girl started throwing pillows at the TV saying no. And I'm just like, I'm sitting here just.
So to kind of compare it to something of how big it was, it's like watching Infinity War in theaters for the first time. And when Thanos did the snap, and everyone's like, "No!" It's just
yeah, because the Undertaker has been close before, but he had never been like he'd been close, but he'd always come back.
Yeah,
and then so everybody was silenced. We were waiting for him
because nobody knew how to react. Like, oh,
like what do you do? Because he does so much charity work and he does other like all this amazing things. He would go to hospitals to see kids because kids freaking loved him in his full gear too, where he had like a duster, like the big long leather jacket and the hat and the eyeliner, and he would do this really cool like eye thing where like it was all white looking, and he was the Undertaker. He had a gravestone sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then yeah. And that's what happened.
They say it, and it's true, that everything is getting faster. You're not getting any younger, and time is the single resource that you can never get back or get any more of. So why walk into your local comic shop blind when you can go in laser focused on the best books on the shelf?
Hi everybody, and welcome to Minute to Skim It. Yeah!
Spend 1 hour with Miss Jen and Bean, and they'll give you rapid-fire reviews of all the new comics hitting stores. Spend less time shopping and more time reading.
This is Provenance of Secrets.
This is The Heathens. I read Wolverine number 17.
Minute to Skim It, every Tuesday at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales. Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
Okay, we're back with the Space Cadettes of Space Cadettes collection with me, Bean, and Shanice and Jena.
Hi! Hi. Oh my gosh, that makes me so happy. People can actually see my wave. Because you can ask me anytime we have Bean over there. Anytime we have a live show and people pop on and say hi, I'm always waving at my computer or my tablet and my phone, and I'm like, why am I doing this? They can't see me.
Sometimes I do wave back because we sit across the table, so she'll wave and then I just wave just to, she gets some response.
Yeah, like it's weird. I don't know why I do it. It's just like something about somebody saying hi, and I just want to be like, hi.
Yeah. Of course, that is usually 8 p.m. on a Tuesday, so I think that we're kind of fried at that point.
Yeah, because I come in at like 10 o'clock in the morning, make sure the table's ready, make sure the invoice is ready. And then we're there till, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, me and you are, yeah. Tuesdays, right?
Yeah, but I actually prefer like binge working. Like I prefer to work for 12 hours and then sleep for 12 hours and then do that a couple times a week. So that's my, all right. But we are going to talk about our favorite movies now. So Jenna, if you want to start us off with your favorite.
Oh gosh, why are you want to start? I don't understand this. So favorite comic book movie? I am in love right now with Zack Snyder's Justice League. Like, I know everybody's like, oh, it's a 4-hour movie. And I'm like, yes, it's a 4-hour movie telling a tale that was needed to be told.
Right.
Who's going to watch a 4-hour movie? How many times did people go and watch Titanic in the theaters?
And that's just about a boat breaking? Like, whatever.
That is the best explanation of the Titanic I have ever heard. I'm going to use that for the rest of my life. I'm putting that's in my pocket. And
I was just not impressed with it.
I wasn't either. I mean, some of the parts were really cool to see, but the movie as a whole was just like, this could have been like 2 movies, maybe, or I don't know. But it gives a great example that people will sit around and watch a 4-hour movie.
I think that was the first movie, and to this day, the only movie from when I was a kid that I remember just being in shock because it came on 2 VHS tapes.
Yes, I had them. They were blue.
Yeah, because
then there was a
my mom
special
rented it. Yeah,
in gold. And I was like, how do you extend it? Why? Ugh. Oh, and then my second one is the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie, because that's how I got introduced to Marvel. So I hadn't read any Marvel or DC or any of those books before that movie, and then I was like, oh, Spider-Man. So Shanice, what has been your favorite one?
My favorite comic book movie of all time. I always get strange looks whenever I say this movie, but I will die on this hill, Batman Forever, because I maintain that it is the only Batman movie today until Robert Pattinson's, from what we can see, where we see a live action Batman actually do detective work. Because the ones don't. I will defend it because they actually see Batman do that, and it's
so
a really
true.
campy movie. I love camp, and the soundtrack is a banger, and that's technically the first movie I actually remember watching, just point blank period. It was when it came out. So that's my favorite one. Yeah. To the point that I have the soundtrack on vinyl. But this year, and I'm just gonna say my favorite comic movie this year because you said Zack Snyder's Justice League movie. Yeah. It's a tie between that and oh gosh.
There's so many.
I know, because I was thinking, sorry about that, y'all. It's a toss between that Suicide Squad and Shang-Chi. I really like those movies.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm so bad. Jena. I know.
And quick, comic book aside, but are you reading Batman the Imposter, that series that's out right now?
Yes.
So good. Oh my god.
So
talk about Batman being an actual detective.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Oh my god. Yes. Okay. Bean, what is your favorite one of all times, and I guess your favorite one of this year?
So I'm gonna say what I think my favorite superhero movie is. It's not deep, really. It's don't judge me, but
no judgment here.
It's because it's really good, but it's definitely not what most people would consider the best. But I love the original Iron Man movie. Robert Downey Jr.
That was a great movie.
And I love it. I still that's probably the only one that I rewatch regularly because I just love it. Something about that story, I just love. Robert Downey Jr. is the perfect casting. It's I think
gamble on him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because at the time he was only known for his crazy drugs and alcohol and everything, and he turned his life around and they gave him the chance, and that was so amazing. And now look where he is. He's still amazing.
Yeah. And it kind of
sorry.
What's up,
Oh no, I didn't mean to interrupt you because go ahead. I'll say it afterwards.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it works so well for that character too. Because that's his part of his thing is he's a party boy. This happens to him, and then he's oh, whoa, I gotta change, you know.
Right.
Yeah. So Shanice, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say too, because it's crazy because the first Iron Man movie, they filmed the whole thing without an actual script, or at least like a more traditional script, because a majority of it was improvised.
Yeah.
So it was like they had like the guidelines of the story what it is, and a few lines in the script.
Yeah.
But I want to say Robert Downey Jr.'s everything he says, or majority of what he said, it just came to him just like that.
Yeah.
And like how you said about how it's from like a guy who used to party a lot, and so he's like, hey, I need to make some changes. You kind of have to wonder if he had to draw that from his personal life, because I had no idea it was that bad when he was younger.
Yeah.
Because I remember my mom was like, wait, he's still alive? When the trailer
Yeah.
she was just died. That's something because I had no idea that he struggled so much when he was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he's done amazing, because like he's moved past all of that adversity to be where he is today, to kind of help comic book movies just move further as they are. Because I don't think without that movie we would have any of the MCU, or at least the movies. I feel like, yeah, definitely. And then has there been any of this year's movies that you really liked?
This year's been rough, you know. So I'm gonna take a buy on that one, and I'm gonna actually I kind of want to talk about like my other favorite comic book movie that kind of is actually like the reason, because I love Iron Man, but like there's sort of Hellboy.
Oh.
I love that one, and that one was the original one with Ron Perlman and
Oh gosh, yes.
And that one, I think, was a big one, because actually, even before I really considered myself like starting to collect comics, after seeing that, I went and I got some trade paperbacks. Like, nice. And I got some and was like, I like this. I like Hellboy. I like Mike Mignola. That was the first time I really like got into a comic.
Yeah.
And of course, very relatable, because he's like, I don't want to draw people. I just want to draw monsters. And I was like, well, I just want to read about monsters. So we work.
I think out of all of those, the second one is my favorite. And I really liked how they used the practical effects to as far as they could. Instead of just relying completely on CGI, they blended it so beautifully well. And then even the remake, I wasn't mad at. Or is it a remake, or is it a reboot, or
relaunch, reboot?
Maybe.
I don't know. We were just talking about this too, and I haven't seen it, partly just because I love the original so much, and I didn't hear a lot about the new one, so I just have not watched it yet. So
okay, I would recommend watching it, because there's a couple of lines in there that make me laugh. And then they have a changeling in there that's not actually a changeling; it's a monster of old. Oh. But it follows along the lines of changeling rules of stealing babies and iron. Sounds terrible, but I loved it. What about the TV shows that are going on? Like, I know a few of them have like wrapped up. Like, I know Arrow's wrapped up. I think S.H.I.E.L.D. is wrapped up. But there's been some really good ones on too. Like, they did Umbrella Academy. It's much different from the comics, but it's still so good the way that they've done it. And then they just did another one too. I'm drawing a blank. What about you, Shanice? Has there been any of the like shows that you've been really?
Doom Patrol.
Yes.
Any show that has a giant cockroach make out with a giant rat and actually make it a really good climactic scene.
Yes.
Has to be like top 3 comic shows of all time.
Yes. I didn't see that coming. And it's the voice. It's I think the person who voiced it was Booger from Revenge of the Nerds. What? That's so great.
So spoiler alert for everybody who has not watched Doom Patrol, but to kind of give you an idea what the show is like.
Chaos. That's like, and then any show that has Brandon Fraser is okay.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Did you see that he just got cast And what was that new casting that just came out from Brendan Fraser?
Firefly. And the new Batgirl movie that they're doing.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
It's gonna be so good. I'm super excited about it. So what about you, Bean? Has there been any of the TV shows?
I would agree that probably my favorite this year has been Umbrella Academy because I really enjoy that one. I love the show so much. I love the comic too, but like the show is just so good and it's so crazy and dark and talk about good casting. Like Luther is just, they could not have like created a person better for playing Luther. Like it
was so weird for me because like 2 weeks before I had just seen him die in Game of Thrones.
Oh no.
And then I saw this and I was like, he's not on fire. And now he's a gorilla. Okay, let's do this. I'm ready.
Yeah. But I'm always a sucker for like big, crazy, super strong character that actually has like is a complete softie inside. Like I don't know if you know any other characters like that I can read about and consume content about. Like
I mean, Hellboy is kind of like that.
That's true. Oh, I can tell you guys that the first time I watched Hellboy, I misunderstood him having cats. And for some reason, because I was pretty young when I watched it, I thought he was eating the cats. I think because he's kind of like scared and like really hard. But then later on, I was like, oh no, they're his pets. Okay.
That's why he was so mad at the lady who was eating cats.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to go give Hellboy a hug now. Just like, look, we know you don't eat cats. We still love you. Because he is such a big softie. But I feel like that's kind of a trope for a lot of comics where they make them, like, if they're big and strong, they're like softies. I mean, what other like cliches or tropes that you guys like to read? Because I love that. That is one of my favorite ones too. Where it's always like the small, misunderstood, like ignores me is the most powerful person like on the team. I don't know why, but that makes me feel better. Maybe it's because I'm only 5 foot, but I want people to be afraid of me. But I'm not very scary, am I?
That's why you cosplay Gertrude.
Yes.
From I Hate Fairyland is the
She's gonna be my
ultimate.
next one. I can't wait for it. I need to. And then of course, you know, Scott Young announced a new season or a new series about Gertrude, and I'm like, ooh,
yes.
I need. Yeah, he announced it on his Instagram where he's like, guess who's back? And it was a picture of Gertrude. And I'm like, how? And yes. Is it going to be full of fluffs? Or is she going to be able to actually say the word this time? So who finds out? Who knows? We will find out.
We'll know. We will know as soon as it comes out. Yes. We'll know on Tuesday.
And then you guys will hear us freaking out about it when we air. So I feel like when I Hate Fairyland and Saga comes back, it's just going to be us like looking at the comics, just screaming, just like, ah!
Yeah.
It's going to be like the hardest Tuesday that I would work is like, can we take it home today, please?
Can I have this? Can I have this now? Can I pay for it now and come back at midnight and take it home? Can I have this now? Please. Can I have this now?
We'll just all be sitting around the table reading. Like we'll get it all done and then which is actually my job on Tuesday. So I'm like,
you already do it. We'll just have to join you for that one. Just be like, hey, a special Tuesday show with the Space Cadettes.
But it's just us reading for like 30 minutes. Like just silently reading. Just, wow, this is great, guys.
I wish you guys could read it right now, but it's so great. It's so good.
Miss Jen just walks into the warehouse.
Talk about anything else with Saga.
Miss Jen just walks into the warehouse. Okay, I'm ready for my books. And we're just like, shh.
It's a quiet area. Just take your space.
Because usually when we're all there, it's just loud and laughing because I don't know what it
chaos,
is about
swearing.
Yeah. Funny chaos at that point. I don't know why. We've kind of surrounded ourselves. I don't know if it's the comic book industry. I don't know if it's Space Cadettes, but we kind of surrounded ourselves with this like working chaos. It works for all of us. I don't know if it would work anywhere else though.
Yeah, if we're not like a little bit stressed by the time we're putting the pull boxes out. And I don't think it was a successful suicide. Just a little bit.
How do you guys feel about moving towards digital?
I've
Because I
actually
can
been
say,
with
Bean, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's actually something I've really been wanting to kind of explore. Like I haven't, but I just haven't like looked into really how to do that. I know there's like, because we work at the shop, we're able to like have access to some, through the distributors. But yeah, I've just always gone and picked it up and read it. But I'm definitely open to reading online.
Because I know there's a couple apps where you buy the comic from. I think Comixology is one. Yeah. And you spend $3.99 and then you have it digitally and it stays in your digital library. Like I think with mine, it's through Google Books. You can buy the book for $3.99 and then, but I don't know what it is. It doesn't feel quite as nice as just holding it.
Yeah.
But if that's the only way we're going to be able to do it, then I mean, I got to read my books.
Yeah.
What about you, Shanice?
See, my thing is with that, like, I'm not opposed to reading books digitally because when I was in high school and where I lived in high school, I didn't have access to a comic store, so I had to either check out like trades from my local library or read comics online.
Yeah.
So I've had experience reading digitally, but my thing is when you own these books physically, you own them.
Yeah.
My only concern is like if you get them through Comixology or any other app or things like that, you're kind of like renting them, so they're not technically yours. So if you cut your subscription or for whatever reason, you can't access these books anymore.
Yeah.
Which kind of freaks me out.
Should the actual Mad Max apocalypse happen, and there's no internet and electricity, you will never see that art or book again.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to set up my car like how they had in Mad Max. Like two flames.
We'll sit Bean on top of the machine gun.
I'm hoarding all the Saga books. Like I have my own kingdom of Saga. I'm just like what's his name? Brian K. Vaughan books.
Yeah.
Everything he's ever written. Just stashed away.
I have so many hardcover books that I would have like an armor-plated car for a zombie apocalypse.
You need an armor-plated train that you're just going down the tracks with your whole collection in there.
Just keep going on the train.
Like what's that series? Snowpiercer?
Yes.
Yeah. Except for instead of education, it's comics.
Yep. The great thing too about having hard copies is like Snowpiercer made me think of this, unfortunately, of our winter storm we had earlier this year. Yeah. And I didn't have power for 4 days.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was and so like we would every once in a while get it for like an hour, but then it would be back out. So but my fiance, he does not read, but I do. So to be honest, I was way more okay than he was. And like I just got my little flashlight and I got my books and like just like having a great time, So that's the good thing about the physical books is you can just sit and just read even if the power's out. So
yeah, definitely. Oh my goodness.
So that was our show for tonight. I hope you guys love watching Space Cadettes.
Bye.
I'll be checking next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye.